on a new stadium. We'll preview a possible game of the year between two 7-4-0 powerhouses. And in our game of the week, we have a crosstown rivalry between Portsmouth and Portsmouth West.
Don't change that channel because Gridiron Glory starts right now. Let's go, GG! Welcome back to Gridiron Glory. I'm your host, Grayson Wolf. Thank you so much for joining us for another exciting week of Southeast Ohio football. Man, it was hot and it was humid out there tonight. I know I'm glad to be back in the studio, but don't worry. We had our talented reporters at the games you needed to see tonight, including 5 of which that we'll break down right here in the next half hour. The most important of which is our game of the week between the Portsmouth Trojans and Portsmouth West Senators. For that game out in Portsmouth, we have Morgan Anderson out in the field.
Grayson, you're lucky you got to go back in the studio tonight because it is so hot out here. In fact, it's so hot that officials actually moved kickoff until 8 p.m. to make up for the extreme heat. But make no mistake, every ounce of sweat was absolutely worth it. And you're going to want to wish that you were out here on the gridiron tonight to see what went down. Folks, you'll want to tune in for my full breakdown and more at the end of the show.
Morgan, I'm so excited to get a breakdown of that one later in the show. We will see you then. But first, we'll start with a team that just missed out on the Hawking title last year, the Eastern Eagles. They had a date with Bishop Rosecrans out in Reedsville tonight, looking to stay unbeaten. For that matchup, we welcome TVC reporter Shane Scalfaro in studio.
Grayson, you and I both know that when this team gets rocking, they just keep rolling. And being at home for a second straight week, their momentum was ready to grow in front of the Eagle faithful. These teams are on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to mentalities for this game. Eastern's looking to start 2-0 after a dominating win last week, while Bishop Rosecrans looks to enter the win column after their 2-score loss. And the Eagles wasted no time getting to work. Gavin Smith takes the handoff and he is into the end zone for the first score of the game after a Bishop drive stalls out and an Eastern fake punt to keep their second drive alive. Riley Barrett says, "I can do that too," and puts the Eagles up 14-0. Early second quarter, Eastern with the ball. Ethan Edwards at quarterback drops back and hits Cooper Barnett wide open in the end zone. Extra point is no good. But woo-wee, they aren't done yet. Riley Barrett is going to walk right into the end zone for his second score of the night, and he'll take it again for a 2-point conversion, 28-0. Near the end of the half, 1:07 left, Ethan Edwards is going to add one more TD to his night, finding Gavin Murphy for the touchdown, 34-0 Eagles. The damage continued to pour as Eastern kept their foot on the gas, taking a dominating 40-7 win over Bishop Rosecrans.
Another dominating win for the Eagles. That defense has been steamrolling their opponents. How did their performance from last week carry over?
Yeah, I mean, these Eagles are flying to the ball. They're hitting guys in the backfield when they get the handoff. They're right next to receivers to either break up passes or keep them from getting yards after the catch. This defense rallies to the football and they hit people hard. You can hear hits from the top of the stands. And they did all of this tonight without star linebacker Brandon Oldacre, who's out with a separated shoulder.
So Shane, last week the ground game was the focal point of Eastern's dominating win. Was it the same story this time around?
It really was. I mean, Eastern thrives on running the ball down your throat and wearing defenses down to allow for more explosive plays, but they proved that they aren't scared to throw the ball either. With a couple of passing touchdowns tonight in this one, the Eagles have shown that you never know what they're going to do on offense.
Next week, Eastern takes on South Gallia. What is there to look forward to in that game?
With Eastern's win tonight and South Gallia's win, this is going to be a great game to watch between two unbeaten teams. The Rebels have to find a way to break through that Eagles defense. Eastern has to keep that offense rolling the way they have been. That defense is good, but they can't rely on them to win games. They have to keep their complementary football going if they want to keep their undefeated streak alive.
Eagles soar again here in week 2. Looks like Coach Jackson has those boys primed for another run at the TVC Hawking title. Thanks for your great work, Shane. Don't forget to stay up to date with all Gridiron Glory content throughout the week. Follow all Gridiron Glory socials from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Also, be sure to check out all written content at woub.org/gridiron. So now let's move to the SVC. Last week, Zane Trace dropped their Week 1 battle against Logan Elm after finishing the regular season last year unbeaten. To see if the Pioneers got back on track in Week 2 is SVC lead reporter Reese Thompson. Welcome to the show, Reese.
Thanks, Grayson. Zane Trace welcomed in new head coach Dylan Wares this offseason, and the team has been looking to continue their success from the previous season. Zane Trace looks to bounce back after a difficult loss to Logan Elm as they hosted their first home game against the Waverly Tigers. The Pioneers got off to a rocky start as their second play of the game, Blake Phillips fumbles the ball, giving the Tigers an early advantage. Though the Tigers weren't able to capitalize on that drive, their explosive offense couldn't be held down for long as Jace Hurd punched it in from 2 yards out. Quarterback Mason Kelly connects deep down the field. Look at this missile, setting up one of the strangest touchdowns I've ever seen. Here's the first fumble, then another fumble, and a third for good measure before the Tigers could secure the touchdown. Kelly keeps firing bombs like this one to Cody Sword, putting Waverly in the driver's seat 21-0. Blake Phillips comes out of the shadows with this rumbling carry, escaping the pool of Tigers defenders, and he would not be denied, taking it to the house to open up the scoring for Zane Trace. But the Waverly lead was too significant for the Pioneers as they fell at home 42-28.
Wow, so Waverly dropped their week 1 game by just a point. How'd they turn around to capture their first win?
Waverly capitalized on some costly mistakes by Zane Trace. For starters, the Tigers pounced on an early fumble by the Pioneers, and that set the tone for Waverly's defensive line for the rest of the night. Waverly's front four controlled the line of scrimmage by limiting big carries by Zane Trace's Carter Langley and Blake Phillips. They got behind the line early, forcing Blake Phillips to fight for every yard.
So we know this Waverly offense has a playmaker in Jace Hurd. We heard his name a couple times in that highlight call. How did he play a pivotal role in the Tigers' success?
Grayson, Jace Hurd was an aggressive runner, breaking several tackles and forcing multiple Zane Trace defenders to the scene every time he touched the ball. He was the backbone of the Tigers' offense by being effective all over the field. Hurd totaled 4 touchdowns and truly established himself as a force on the football field tonight. I definitely keep an eye on Hurd as a potential All-GG player later this season.
Yeah, so Zane Trace now starts 0-2 after the undefeated season a year ago. How does Coach Wares right the ship for this Pioneers team?
Yeah, this definitely is not an ideal situation for Zane Trace and first-year head coach Dylan Wares, but there is still a lot of time left in the season. Zane Trace has time to adjust, considering their schedule will get a lot easier from here on out. So things can only go up from here.
Yeah, so a great win for Waverly, and it sounds like things could be looking up for Coach Wares and the Pioneers. Thanks so much for your great work, Reese. Now, before we move to our next game, the Morgan Raiders are moving to a new home this season. With a new stadium comes the opportunity to create new memories while also honoring the old. For that story, we welcome features reporter Dylan Westmeyer back in studio.
Grayson, the Raiders will need to travel no longer into McConnellsville to play their home games. Morgan said goodbye to Athletic Field last season and now open Morgan Raiders Field tonight.
83 years. That's how long the Athletic Field was used in McConnellsville. The Morgan Raiders, they called that field home for 56 of those years. Over those years, the field saw many ups and downs and hosted the only home playoff game in Raiders history in the year 2000. There were so many memories held at the Athletic Field.
I have extremely fond memories of that old field, both as a player, obviously as a coach for 5 years, and then as a little kid too. I was in 7th grade in 2000 when we hosted the only home playoff game we've had so far in our history, and the atmosphere there was unbelievable.
The Raiders superintendent Kristen Barker was part of the group who cut the ribbon on the stadium prior to the game Friday, officially opening Morgan Raiders Stadium.
Fans and students of the Morgan Raiders used to call these their home.
We're going to pack this stadium Friday night, and we're going to open this field up the way it should be.
And pack the house they did. Not a single seat was open in the stands tonight, and there were people lined up all the way down to the concession stand. The Raiders sent the Athletic Field off with a win in their final game at home last season against Meadowbrook 57-20, and Raiders QB Logan Nicewinger wants to start the new field off with a bang.
We want to set this stadium off with a good note, with a good banger, I should say, because obviously, you want to start and you want to keep that momentum going in the future. So keep that week by week, just keep that momentum going.
This game will be a memorable one for the Raiders regardless of the outcome.
Dylan, you're absolutely right about that. It looks absolutely beautiful out there. I know I need to get out and check out new Morgan Raiders Stadium for sure. So we see where they're playing. We heard what it meant to Coach Bowman and these players. Let's see if they started with that momentum they talked about with a huge win. For the breakdown of this one, we welcome TSL lead reporter Peyton Brooker to the show.
Thanks, Grayson. These two schools come into this game with huge wins and are looking to become 2-0. Both the Warren Warriors and the Morgan Raiders were ecstatic to play in their first ever game at Morgan Raiders Stadium. Right off the bat, the Raiders drive through the Warriors as the defense from the pass game from Logan Nicewinger and Cole Serrell quickly gets Morgan to the red zone. The Raiders finish the drive with a pass to Hayden Banks to go up 6 to begin the scoring. But the Warriors were quick to answer back as QB Jacob Seeley scrambles around and finds a deep hole, and he wouldn't even be touched as the Morgan defender they finds him to the end zone for a 34-yard touchdown to take the lead. Though Morgan's offense worked quickly to snatch the lead out of Morgan's basket as Nicewinger quickly looks and finds his main receiver Serrell again to take the game back. And not only is the pass game from Nicewinger was an impact in this game, but his rushing game would also come into play as he would score for a 10-yard touchdown. The Warriors, though, weren't caving in as a pass to Tanner Peppers put Warren to the 1-yard line as all there was left to do is sneak it in for a little walk in the park to the end zone to put them down by 4. This, however, wasn't enough for the Warren as the Raiders would finish them off in the second half with 2 more touchdowns to give them the 33-22 win in front of this packed house to give them a 2-0 start.
Yeah, Peyton, so this game seemed to mean a lot to the Morgan faithful for obvious reasons. But what was the main factor for the Raiders that led them to success tonight?
Immediately, 2 players from the Raiders come to mind, the senior leaders of Logan Nicewinger and Cole Serrell. The two at the offensive helm were on point with each other from the start of the game. In the first half alone, Cole Serrell caught 6 receptions for 85 yards and connecting with a touchdown. And the quarterback Cole Nicewinger was a highlight not only on offense, but also on defense. Looking at this nice tackle from Nicewinger was just one of the plays that helped him secure a victory here. Tonight, as he was the one to watch for future games, has hoped to become this for his final season with a bang.
So Warren head coach Jimmy Payton, he's just in his second year now. What were some of the positives that he and the Warriors can take away from this one?
Grayson, this wasn't a total blowout for the Warriors tonight. With only his second start ever as a starter for Warren, Jacob Seeley had a lot to take away from this one. He had times from find his open receiver Tanner Peppers and Nick Cressley that got him down the sidelines. But tonight it just wasn't enough against the strong Raiders defense that kept them getting ahead.
Yeah, so switching back to Morgan now, what can we expect from them in the coming weeks? I heard it gets pretty tough for them.
Yes, indeed, Grayson. From here on out, the Morgan Raiders, it's going to be an MVL action. After tonight, Morgan has to play a tough game such as Philo and Sheridan that's going to make them adjusting their game plans from here on out. The Raiders plan to focus their energy from these last games as they focus to continue to improve from last season and hope for another shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, so Morgan can celebrate the win tonight in their new stadium, but it sounds like it's back to work tomorrow for Coach Bowman and the Raiders. Thanks so much for your great work, Peyton. You guys didn't quite vote correctly on that one, as 60% of you guys chose Warren. Make sure you guys vote on our Instagram stories every Thursday night to make your voices heard. Let's see how you guys did with our next game, Southern at Crooksville. So now we move to that MVL and TVC battle and what a story that's unfolding for the Crooksville Ceramics. They welcomed in the Southern Tornadoes to try to do something that they haven't done in over a decade. For that, we welcome MVL reporter Tim Hanna. The floor is yours, brother.
The last time the Crooksville Ceramics started off the season 2-0, it was 2010. For Southern, they're trying to get their first win in the win column since week 9 of last year. This is the first time these two schools have met, but they wasted no time getting to know each other. Southern, they'll get the ball first. Josiah Smith's going to roll out to the right, and Hayden Hurst says, "I'll take that," and Crooksville gets the ball near midfield. Third play of the drive, Braysom Hill, he's going to step up in the pocket, look left, find Christian Browning. He's only got one man to beat, and he'll take it to the house 45 yards, giving Crooksville the early 7-0 lead. After a long Crooksville possession, the Tornadoes would answer with a long drive of their own. Now from the 7, Smith going to drop his shoulder, and he's going to tumble in the end zone. That would be the Tornadoes' first and only score of the night. Ensuing 2-point conversion, Smith, he'll get the snap, spin around in the pocket, throw a jump ball into the end zone. Gage Love is going to bobble that, and Hurst is going to come down with it. It's 7-6 Ceramics. With 4 seconds left until the half, a penalty would put the Ceramics back up to the 18, but that'd be no problem for Brady Cottrell as he nails this 35-yarder to send it to the half, 10-6, and the Ceramics would dominate in the second half and go on to win 31-6.
So Tim, last week Crooksville had a very well-balanced attack between the pass and the rush on offense. Were they able to continue that this week?
Yeah, they were. They were able to use the run game to help set up the passing game. Southern's defense showed the ability to keep Brayson Hill moving around. And initially, Hill struggled to get the ball out of his hands, hesitating on his first read. But that's expected from a freshman quarterback only in his second start. But he eventually settled into the game, using his second and third reads to help move the ball down the field. Daniel Chapman picked up right where he left off last week as well, being the workhorse running back for the Ceramics.
Yeah, the defense had 3 first-half takeaways last week. How is their defense wreaking havoc to these offenses?
Let me tell you, Grayson, the Ceramics defense came to play this week. In the second half, they had 2 pick sixes to give them 3 interceptions for the game. They also blocked a punt, which led to a field goal. Browning and Chapman were all over the field at the linebacker position, and Eli Sprankle held it down on the back end.
So Southern relied heavily on the ground game in week 1. What did the Ceramics defense do to slow them down in week 2?
Crooksville looked comfortable on defense when the Tornadoes ran between the tackles and kept Josiah Smith inside the pocket. Early on, Southern did find success running the ball outside of the tackle box, running sideline to sideline, but ultimately the turnover bug would plague the Tornadoes and allow Crooksville to pull away.
Yeah, so the Crooksville Ceramics, 2-0. Not something I thought I'd say 2 weeks ago. I also heard you got a gift tonight, is that right?
They did, yeah. We were walking around pregame, and they were handing out cowbells for the fans in the student sections, and they gave us one. So
That's awesome. Thanks for the great work, Tim. Now our tweet of the week, and it's Eastern Eagles coach Jason Jackson. My guy got locked into his own stadium. He must have been grinding too much film after that game last week, and apparently everyone just forgot about him. Seemed to work, though, as we saw him get the win over Bishop Rosecrans earlier. So we have an awesome matchup this week between the Jackson Ironmen and Ironton Fighting Tigers. Now, unfortunately, that game is being played Saturday, so we won't get a breakdown tonight. But lucky for us, FAC lead Zach Mothersbaugh is going to give us a preview of that game and the Ironton Classic.
Grayson, these 2 teams may have just started playing each other in the last 2 years, but before then, they would scrimmage each year before the season started. So this game means a lot to both communities.
Are the type of last-second moments you get when you watch Ironton and Jackson square off. A game-sealing interception by Braden Schreck to thwart a late-game drive by the Ironmen. And a miraculous, lateral-filled, kick return touchdown by Ironton star Ty Perkins with just 1.4 seconds left in the game. A play that erased a 3-point Ironman lead. But you'll notice something particular about these 2 plays. Both were game-winning plays by the Fighting Tigers. So, of course, those plays are remembered by the Ironmen.
2 years ago, obviously, was the ESPN kick return there at the end of the game, 1.4 seconds. I won't ever forget that number. But
However, there's a lot of new blood coming into this matchup. Both teams will be starting a new quarterback. For Jackson, it'll be Bodie Wolford, and for Ironton, Bailey Thacker. And these quarterbacks will be introduced to each other on one of the biggest stages in Southeast Ohio football, in the Ironton Classic.
You know, just an opportunity to bring in some national talent and, you know, kind of showcase what we have here at Ironton High School and also allow people to see some of the best talent in the country. It was a conversation that we started out, and we thought it was going to be a few years down the road, and we got it together in about 6 months, and this is last year, and we was able to put together a pretty good lineup of teams.
And Coach Hall knows this game being played Saturday night during this huge event is just a cherry on top for this rivalry.
At the end of the day, it's still Ironton and Jackson. We could play this on a Tuesday night at 5 o'clock, and it's going to be a packed house.
Yeah, this level of excitement is what happens when you get 2 of the winningest programs in Southeast Ohio together on a stage like the Ironton Classic.
Yeah, I think I speak for everyone when I say we couldn't be more excited to watch it play out tomorrow. Thanks, Zach. Now let's head into our game of the week. But first, you know I had to chop it up with the fans. The start time was pushed back an hour for this one, so you know the fans were extra pumped. Let's see our Week 2 Fans of the Week.
Let's see, what do we got here?
Chicken legs.
Chicken legs.
Macaroni and cheese. Green beans. And barbecue.
Barbecue, was that all done on the smoker over there?
Yeah, well, this just was. The rest of it my boy made and brought up.
Love it, love it. You guys do this every week?
Yeah, every home game now.
Every home game?
Started last year. We just keeping it going.
What's up? What's your name?
Gideon.
You're a Portsmouth West fan?
What?
Are you always barefoot?
Well, no, it's kind of wet today. We had a
enough.
pretty good storm here. It was about yay deep coming down through here.
Is this like a routine? What?
No! Let me get this!
All right, here, Big East tailgate. We talked to him earlier. He said he's been out here since 10 a.m. this morning. So we'll try the chicken here. Uh-huh. Oh my God.
Portsmouth don't want this.
Don't want what?
Don't want the smoke.
They don't want the smoke.
Yep, because West Side is the best side.
All right, there you go. West Side's the best side. What are your opinions on Portsmouth West? Do you have any fighting words?
No, I think both teams are like equally good. I think it's going to be like a close game, but I think if we try hard, like it will be we will win, I think.
Wow, so a lot more respectable than some of the Portsmouth West Pee Wee players we had over there.
That's normally how it is.
Oh, those are fighting words, my friend. Those are fighting words.
I'm the fastest on the team.
What's your 40 time?
Like 50.
50 seconds? A 50-second 40, the fastest on the team. Back with Big E, because of the hospitality, because of the great food. He's our first Week 2 Fan of the Week. Very own Gridiron Glory Media Day towel. You can use that to clean off the grill if you want.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I won't run it. That's good.
All right, well, there you go. Congratulations, Big E.
All right, buddy. We appreciate it.
We're going to do Beat Minford on 3, all right? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Beat Minford. We'll see you tomorrow. Man, Big E was such an awesome host, and yeah, that food was fantastic. He ended up being the only one worthy for our Fan of the Week. I love chopping it up with the young guys, and I even played some football in the parking lot that didn't end up making the cut. But man, now let's move to the Game of the Week. The fans had some fighting words, and Morgan and I both went to some practices this week, and some players had some fighting words as well. Check out what the Trojans and Senators were saying ahead of this monumental rivalry matchup.
West has gotten the best of us, so we're looking to redeem ourselves from last year because we let them come in here and embarrass us. So our goal is to go in there and give it right back to them and just keep kicking their butts from now on.
Yeah, they definitely think they have an edge. Like they're 1-0, we're 0-1. They think they're real confident right now, but it sets us up. We're ready.
I didn't like how they embarrassed us last year, and we're looking to embarrass them on their field.
Yeah, everyone sleeps on us, but we always come back.
We can just absolutely dominate this team. That's what I feel like we can.
It motivates us to go in there, take it down their throat, let them know how it is.
Now we've heard from the fans, heard from the players. Let's check out how this one finished on the field. We're going to welcome Morgan Anderson back to the show from out in the field to give us everything we need to know. Morgan?
Grayson, we both know there's nothing better than Friday nights in Gridiron Glory, and this game is why. The Senators and the Trojans, two teams that really, really don't like each other. It was Pee Wee Sports Night at Portsmouth West, so the school spirit was high. Check out this little guy's face page, but don't let these smiles fool you. These two teams were strictly business, and after tonight, there's no wondering why. We started the game off hot, and not just literally. Senator wide receiver Jeffrey Bishop would snag this bag and take it 53 yards to West territory after a pretty stagnant first quarter. And homie does not go down without a fight. Check it right here. This would go to set freshman quarterback Cole Tipton up for a 7-yard run straight to the house. End of the first, 7-0 Senators. The Trojans would slowly but surely find their footing in the second as running back Nick Copley would take hard runs like this one to gain momentum. Talk about a bulldozer. The Trojans would go 4-2 and get it, allowing Portsmouth RB Chase Highland to take one in for himself. Light work, no reaction. Flash forward to the second half, junior running back Mason Parker is going to be in the Trojans' dreams after tonight. Don't know how you forget about this. This dude had 3 straight back-to-back-to-back touchdowns. Like, what the heck? He had 15 carries for 149 yards, and he can put up some serious numbers. He finished this game off for a Senator dub, 31-14.
Wow, what a game, Morgan. Week 2 can really make or break a team's momentum. What do you think gave Portsmouth West the ability to rise to the top?
Well, Grayson, both teams were coming off 2 entirely different Week 1 games that were making this one packed with an extra punch. But when it comes to a solid hit, as I was saying, junior running back Mason Parker can punch one in like it's nobody's business, Grayson. Parker had 3 straight touchdowns on his own in the second half, elevating the Senator lead, and it would stick around as he locked in their final score at 31-14.
Morgan, we know these two teams are physical. How did that look tonight?
You're absolutely right. When we talked to them earlier in the week at practice, they said that physicality is their strong suit, and that's exactly what I saw. They played a physical game that prioritized the run game, but for Portsmouth, it was almost out of survival. Their quarterback, Cameron Williams, is a freshman, so the lack of passes helped prevent pressure, capitalizing on older talent like Chase Highland and Nick Copley.
With this rivalry win under their belts, what's next for the Senators?
Grayson, I'm going to be honest, they're going to have to work on the simple things for what's next. Offensively, we need to see some cleanup for smoother starts like block punts and wobbly snaps. In the first half of the game, it really was a matter of who could make less mistakes. And as we head into week 3, we'll need to bust out the Swiffer to clean that one up. Grayson, I think it's safe to say it's a dog-eat-dog world in the 740 these days.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for the great work, and get home safe. All right, so I told you if you kept working hard and making plays, that maybe you could be this week's play of the night. Let's see which of you delivered for our Week 2 Plays of the Week. We start out in Crooksville for number 5. Football is up for grabs, and Christian Browning goes up and comes down with it on his head. Now let's move to number 4. A bad snap on the Eastern punt. Oh wait, it's actually Cooper Barnett taking the fake punt for the first down. What a play call. Now we're right back to Reedsville for number 3. And watch this block. He's gonna take the handoff, and here comes number 7. That's quarterback Ethan Edwards laying the hammer on a Rosecrans defender. Number 2, let's check out Zane Trace's Blake Phillips. He's gonna break about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tackles on his way to the end zone. What a run, young man. Now, our elusive number 1 play of the week. And who else but Warren quarterback Jacob Seeley. He's going to take the read option. He's going to skirt past the first defender, breaks his ankles, and he's going to flip the field, juke another, get a block. Now watch number 2 here. You can't catch me. You can catch me. Oh, you're going to catch me? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to score anyway. That is our top play of the night. We had a fake punt, a couple jukes, a great catch, and even an earth-shattering block. We'll have all types of plays each week, so make sure to keep working hard. So that's our show. Week 2 is in the books, but week 2 isn't quite over yet. We're sending our reporters out tomorrow for the Jackson-Ironton matchup we previewed earlier in the show. So be on the lookout for all Gridiron Glory socials and WOUB.org for not just that recap, but all the recaps of our digital games that we went to tonight. And even though conference games are sneaking up on us, we still have out-of-conference games that'll be on our show next week. 2 heavyweight battles in Wheelersburg at Jackson and Fairland at Ironton. Trimble and Vinton County is a huge matchup, huge Hawking versus Ohio matchup in the TVC. So we'll see you here next week. Same time, same place. Because remember, there is nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.